Are you sure every item in your refrigerator is being stored correctly? Last week, Uncle Bernard, my 73-year-old uncle, called me at 3 a.m. His voice was weak, saying he had been experiencing severe stomach pain since midnight and had been vomiting nonstop. I rushed him to the emergency room. The doctor asked what he had eaten, and then something surprised us. The very food he had believed to be safe because it was stored in the refrigerator turned out to be the cause of his intense pain. Many people, especially the elderly, believe that once something is put in the refrigerator, it's automatically safe. But the truth is, certain foods should not and must not be stored in the fridge because low temperatures not only reduce their nutritional value, but can also trigger reactions that produce toxins, alter the food, or make it dangerous for the digestive system. In today's video, you and I will explore 5 types of food that should not be stored in the refrigerator because they can harm your health, and 5 types of food that must be refrigerated to avoid serious consequences. This information will not only help you reduce food waste, still, it could also prevent stomach aches, infections, and even hospitalization, especially for older adults with more vulnerable immune and digestive systems. If you've ever put something in the fridge simply out of habit, without being sure if it was right or wrong, hit like on this video and comment with the number 1. And if you've ever had a digestive issue after eating refrigerated food, share your story. You might be helping someone. Now, let's begin. Part 1. 5 types of food you should never put in the refrigerator. Number 1. Potatoes. Did you know that a seemingly harmless potato in the fridge can silently produce toxins if stored incorrectly? This isn't an exaggerated warning. It's a scientific reality, and its consequences could leave you in bed all day with stomach pain, nausea, or even prolonged diarrhea. For seniors whose digestive systems have weakened over the years, a dish made with degraded potatoes isn't just mildly uncomfortable. It can cause dehydration, fatigue, low blood pressure, and, if prolonged, a chain of complications no one wants to experience at age 70. So what happens to potatoes when you put them in the fridge? According to research from the UK's Food Standards Agency, FSA, when potatoes are exposed to low temperatures, below 41 degrees Fahrenheit or 5 degrees Celsius, a process called sweetening occurs, meaning the starch in the potato converts into simple sugars. And when these sweetened potatoes are roasted, fried, or baked at high heat, they form acrylamide, a chemical compound classified by the International Agency for Research on Cancer, IARC, as possibly carcinogenic to humans. The answer doesn't lie in the fridge. It lies in 3 rules for safe potato storage. Store potatoes in a cool, dark, dry place. Ideal temperature is 45 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 7 to 10 degrees Celsius. Avoid storing them next to onions. Ethylene gas from onions will make potatoes sprout faster. Don't keep potatoes in sealed plastic bags. Instead, use paper bags or open baskets so they can breathe. But potatoes aren't the only food that silently backfires when refrigerated. There's another, rich in nutrients, smooth in texture, and once a comforting staple for many older adults, that becomes a struggle whenever you want to use it when stored cold. And that is peanut butter. Number 2. Peanut butter. Did you know that one of the seemingly safest foods in your kitchen could silently become harmful if stored in the wrong place? This isn't just an inconvenience for older adults. It's a real risk. Imagine waking up in the morning, wanting to start your day with a simple slice of peanut butter toast. But when you open the jar from the fridge, the peanut butter has hardened, stiff like wax. You need to use force to scrape it, struggling to spread it, and with hands weakened by age or arthritis, this once simple act becomes exhausting. Worse yet, it could strain your wrist, hurt your shoulder, or make you skip breakfast altogether, just because of a mistake in storage. Why shouldn't peanut butter be refrigerated? Scientifically speaking, peanut butter, especially the natural kind without preservatives, has a creamy texture thanks to monounsaturated fats, which are heart healthy. When chilled, these fats solidify, changing the consistency and affecting the flavor. Additionally, repeatedly taking it in and out of the fridge accelerates oxidation, destroying vitamin E, reducing antioxidant potency, and potentially forming mild inflammatory compounds when consumed long-term. Don't let this nutrient-dense food become a source of frustration. Here are 3 simple ways to store peanut butter properly. Keep it at room temperature in a cool, shaded place. Avoid storing it near stoves, microwaves, or areas with fluctuating heat. Seal the lid tightly after each use to keep out air and moisture that could cause spoilage. To prevent mold or bacterial growth, always use a dry, clean spoon. Never let water get into the jar. If this content is valuable, please share a few thoughts in the comments. What you write might be precisely what someone else needs to hear. If you've ever stored peanut butter in the fridge and found it hardened, comment with the number 1 below. If you've changed your storage method and noticed a difference, share your experience to help the community. Number 3. Tomatoes. When the cold steals, the flavor of summer tomatoes, the symbol of summer, sweet, juicy, and rich in nutrients, are among the most common victims of the refrigerator. When you place tomatoes in a cold environment below 10 degrees Celsius, an unfortunate event occurs. The internal cell structure begins to break down. What is the consequence? You'll notice the tomato becomes mushy, the skin wrinkles, the flesh loses moisture, and the flavor becomes bland, even slightly sour. What once brought freshness to your salad becomes a lifeless ingredient that diminishes the entire dish. Researchers at the University of Florida have demonstrated that the enzymes responsible for the aroma and sweetness in tomatoes are almost completely inhibited after a few days in the refrigerator. The refrigerator causes tomatoes to forget their former flavor, reducing the amount of lycopene, a valuable antioxidant that helps prevent cancer and protect heart health. So, how can you keep tomatoes tasting as fresh as when just picked? Store at room temperature, in a cool, dry place, away from direct sunlight. Place tomatoes stem side down to reduce moisture loss and keep them fresh longer. If tomatoes are overripe, use them within 1 to 2 days or cook them immediately. Have you ever stored tomatoes in the refrigerator? Share your experience in the comments below. But tomatoes aren't the only ones killed in the refrigerator. There's another ingredient found in almost every kitchen. If stored improperly, it not only loses its flavor, but also causes a natural antibacterial shield to be lost. Number 4. Onions. When the refrigerator robs you of both flavor and health, onions are an indispensable ingredient in countless meals. But storing onions in the refrigerator ruin their texture and create conditions for mold growth. The crisp texture, mild spiciness, and distinctive aroma will disappear. Onions become mushy, develop an odd smell, sometimes sprout roots, or even mold at the top. For the elderly, accidentally consuming moldy onions can cause digestive disorders, stomach pain, nausea, or affect liver function. According to the USDA, onions have a high water content but require air circulation. The refrigerator, with its high humidity and stagnant air, creates ideal conditions for mold, especially if the onions have been peeled or cut. Protect the flavor and safety of your onions by 1. Storing onions in a dry, well-ventilated place, like a bamboo basket or mesh bag. 2. Avoid storing near potatoes, as ethylene gas from potatoes will cause onions to spoil faster. 3. If cut, wrap tightly and use within 1 day, but it's best not to keep them in the refrigerator for too long. A subscription or a like may seem small, but it's the greatest support for me to continue sharing useful knowledge with the elderly community. Thank you for staying until this moment. And finally, a favorite fruit of many people, but a silent victim when placed in the refrigerator. Even if you think you're keeping it fresh, you're cutting off the most precious, natural ripening process. Number 5. Bananas. When the refrigerator turns a tender heart. Rigid bananas are sweet, easy to digest, and extremely rich in potassium, making them especially suitable for older people. But bananas lose a part of their soul when stored in the refrigerator. After just 1 night, the peel will turn brown-black. But worse, the flesh inside will become mushy, lose its natural sweetness, and even develop an odd smell. At this point, bananas are no longer a light, nutritious snack, but an unappealing experience, especially for those with sensitive digestive systems. Researchers at Chiquita Brands have pointed out that the enzymes responsible for breaking down starch in bananas require temperatures around 20 to 25 degrees Celsius to function optimally, making bananas naturally sweet. When bananas are placed in the refrigerator too early, the ripening process is frozen, and the fruit never reaches its ideal sweetness. To keep bananas sweet and wholesome, follow these steps. 1. Store bananas at room temperature, away from direct sunlight. 2. Do not refrigerate green bananas. Let them fully ripen first. 3. If overripe, consume immediately or freeze for smoothies or baking. How do you prefer to eat bananas? Left out to soften or chilled for firmness? Comment and share so we know which team you're on. And so, we've explored 5 types of foods that should not be stored in the refrigerator. But what about the opposite? Foods that, if not kept cold, can become silent threats to your health? Stay tuned for the next part. Foods that must be refrigerated to avoid the risk of poisoning, kidney failure, or digestive disorders. We've just revisited foods that seem harmless but lose their value, even become harmful when improperly stored in the refrigerator. However, the opposite holds, and it is no less dangerous. Not everything can be left at room temperature without concern. Some foods, if not adequately refrigerated, will lose nutrients and become bacterial hubs, silently causing poisoning, intestinal infections, and even damage to the liver, kidneys, and immune system, especially in the elderly. The most concerning part is that many people still make this mistake daily, simply for convenience or due to a lack of serious warning. So, which foods are these? Let's explore 3 types of foods you must refrigerate to avoid serious health consequences. Starting with a familiar dish present in almost every kitchen, but poses a significant risk if forgotten after a meal. Let's begin with the first item, the Part 2. 3 types of food you must keep refrigerated if you don't want to face serious health consequences. Number 1. Pre-cut fruit. Do you think cutting fruit and leaving it on the table for a few hours is harmless? Unfortunately, that could be one mistake that sends you to the hospital for food poisoning. Once fruit is cut, it loses its natural protective layer and quickly becomes an ideal home for bacteria, especially E. coli and Salmonella, two common culprits behind diarrhea, vomiting, and stomach pain. According to the U.S. CDC, pre-cut fruit left at room temperature for over 2 hours can increase bacterial levels dozens of times beyond safe limits. As we age, a weaker immune system makes fighting these seemingly small threats harder. Take these 3 simple preservation steps immediately. Always place pre-cut fruit in a sealed container and store it in the refrigerator at 4 degrees Celsius or 39 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. Do not let pre-cut fruit come into contact with dirty knives or cutting boards used for raw meat. Consume all cut fruit within 24 hours of refrigeration. Do you habitually leave sliced apples, mangoes, or pineapples on the table and forget about them? If so, type "I need to change" in the comments section below. And now, let's move on to a ubiquitous food. But if stored incorrectly, it might become something you'll regret: cooked meat. Number 2. Cooked meat and leftovers. A hearty dinner last night could be why you stayed up all night with stomach pain. Cooked meat and leftovers, if left out for more than 2 hours or improperly stored, can harbor Clostridium perfringens, the second most common cause of foodborne illness in the U.S., according to the CDC. These bacteria don't change the smell or taste. You won't smell or see them, but your body will know when the symptoms begin: cramping, diarrhea, and prolonged nausea. They are especially dangerous for the elderly. Therefore, keep cooked meat safe with these 3 rules. Always refrigerate leftovers within 2 hours of cooking. Divide large portions into smaller containers to help them cool quickly and store more easily. Reheat to at least 75 degrees Celsius, 167 degrees Fahrenheit, before consuming again. Remember to hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell. Your health shouldn't be delayed. Upcoming videos will help you gradually build a healthier and more proactive life. And right after this, we'll move on to one of the most commonly misunderstood foods: eggs. Number 3. Eggs. Many people believe that eggs don't need to be refrigerated, but that can be dangerous. In the U.S., eggs are washed clean of their natural protective coating, making them more vulnerable to bacteria, especially Salmonella, which can cause severe diarrhea in the elderly. The USDA recommends storing eggs at 4 degrees Celsius, 39 degrees Fahrenheit, or lower, and never on the refrigerator door, where the temperature fluctuates frequently. Remember these 3 things. 1. Always refrigerate eggs as soon as you bring them home. 2. Do not wash eggs before putting them in the fridge, if they haven't already been pre-washed at the store. 3. Use eggs within 3 to 5 weeks from the purchase date. If you've ever stored eggs outside the fridge, leave a comment saying, "I learned this too late." Now, we move on to green food that seems harmless, but is also highly sensitive: leafy greens. Number 4. Leafy greens. Kale, spinach, lettuce. They may seem simple, but they are among the most bacteria-prone foods. According to the FDA, over 22% of E. coli outbreaks in the U.S. are linked to raw vegetables that weren't properly stored. When greens wilt, rot, or are kept too long, They become breeding grounds for mold and bacteria, harming the liver and digestive system, which are already more vulnerable in older adults. The safe solution is wrap greens in dry paper towels and place them in perforated zip bags. Always store them in the vegetable drawer of the fridge. Use within 2 to 3 days of purchase. How long do you usually keep leafy greens? Comment and share your experience. And now, we turn to a group of familiar foods. But if left out, they're riskier than you might think. Milk and dairy products. Number 5. Dairy products. Milk, cheese, yogurt. If left out of the fridge for too long, they quickly become ideal breeding grounds for Listeria and Campylobacter. Both are extremely dangerous for seniors, potentially causing intestinal inflammation, fever, or even blood infections. Nutrition experts at the Mayo Clinic emphasize that dairy products must be consistently kept at 4 degrees Celsius or 39 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. When you remove them, seal the lid tightly and return them to the fridge immediately. Remember these 3 things. Never leave milk or yogurt out for over 1 hour, especially in summer. Always check the expiration date, even for cheese. Don't consume if there's a strange smell, curdling, or separation. I read every single comment you leave, and every word of gratitude, every shared story. That's what keeps me going on this journey. If you found this content valuable, please share it with someone you love, or subscribe to the channel to let me know I'm on the right path. By the time you've reached this point in the video, you probably no longer see your refrigerator the same way, because now you know. That very place you thought was the safest, if misused, can quietly erode your health day by day. In modern life, the refrigerator is practically an essential kitchen assistant. It helps us preserve food longer, save money, and reduce the need to shop daily. That's why most of us believe that if it goes into the fridge, it must be good. But as you've seen throughout this video, not all foods belong in the fridge. When chilled, some foods change their structure, lose natural enzymes, trigger oxidation, or become harder to use, affecting digestion, heart health, and cognitive function as we age. Especially for older adults, whose digestive systems are weaker and whose reactions to bacteria are more sensitive. Mistaking good storage for incorrect storage can lead to serious consequences. A tomato that loses its nutrients, a spoonful of oxidized peanut butter, a leftover dish kept too long. All may seem small, but they can add up to long-term, silent health problems. So, how can you use your refrigerator more wisely and safely? Here are 5 simple principles you can start applying today. 1. Organize refrigerator zones. Designate each shelf or drawer. One for chilled but not frozen items like milk and eggs. The middle shelf for cooked food. A sealed container drawer for raw meat. And a vegetable drawer lined with newspaper or dry cloth to absorb moisture and preserve freshness. 2. Don't put everything in the fridge. As you've learned from this video, peanut butter, tomatoes, onions, bananas, and potatoes should be kept in a cool, ventilated area away from direct sunlight. Don't turn the fridge into a storage dump. Make it a nutrition vault. 3. Always label storage dates. Write the cooking date and expiration, especially for leftovers. Don't leave a dish forgotten in the back and wonder, is this still okay to eat? 4. Don't trust your feeling. Trust the rules. When in doubt, throw it out. Safety always comes before saving. Foodborne bacteria have no smell or color, but their consequences are real. 5. Clean your fridge weekly, not just for hygiene, but to reawaken your awareness of what nourishes you. A clean, tidy fridge is a form of care for your health and loved ones. From today on, consider your fridge not just a storage space, but a guardian of your health. Let every time you open the fridge be a moment of choosing safety, awareness, and a healthier old age. If you found this video helpful, please hit like to let me know you're still with me. What food did you use to keep in the fridge that you'll now change after this video? Share in the comments. Your story might help thousands of others. And don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so I can continue bringing you practical, inspiring food wisdom every week. Thank you for staying until the end. That's not just support for me. It's a deep act of care you've shown for your health.